Welcome to Please Bear With Me, a presentation by the Stroke Recovery Association New South Wales. Recorded during Aphasia Awareness Month 2022, this presentation aims to educate people about the lived experience of aphasia and raise awareness of aphasia in the community. Facilitated by Michelle Sharkey, CEO of the Stroke Recovery Association, 4 long-time members generously share their own lived experience of aphasia with other stroke survivors, carers, health professionals and students. For more information about aphasia or to find a stroke support group near you, contact the association on 1300 650 594 or visit our website www.strokensw.org.au. Thank you and enjoy.
Kimone is the coordinator of our Bega Stroke Recovery Club as well. Welcome, Kimone.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure. If whatever I can do to help somebody, I'm ready and able. My age is 56. I had my first stroke in Melbourne and then a second one in Bega. 10 years since my first stroke and 6 years since my second stroke. I had an ischemic stroke and the second one, the TIA, trans-ischemic attack.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So can just talking a little bit about the effects of aphasia on your life, what would you like people to know about aphasia and the effects that it's had on your life in particular?
It's saying words. I couldn't speak. The little words are the and terrible, but the brain says the word, the mouth doesn't respond.
So you think it, but it doesn't come out the way.
Yes. Or I say it, I think I'm saying this, and what comes is out, I didn't say that. But I'm speaking more clearly because when I come to the country area, I think they're more patient with me. They're willing to take your time, don't rush, and so the pressure is off.
Okay. And has it affected your ability to work at all?
Yes, but I retrained myself.
Okay. So you're now working in Bega, and what are you doing in Bega?
I'm a support worker and I'm a bookkeeping services, and I have work in the cellular health breakthrough.
Okay, so you're still supporting yourself.
Yes.
After your stroke, and not necessarily living on a pension, but basically supporting yourself with a family.
Yes, my husband is the main breadwinner, but I have lots of sources of income. I'm trying to get up to equal his wage.
And you will achieve it, I have no doubt. So the next questions are, how does it make you feel when you are in an unexpected situation and you can't find the right word to explain what it is you either want or you want to say?
When I'm coming up to the stroke intervention, they have a stop in Nimitabel, and I'm I want to buy a loaf of bread, and it didn't come out like that. I'm pointing up where the bread is, and the shop assistant not working with me. So up there, loaf, and eventually she got it, but it's sometimes can start again. Can I have cancel that thought and start again? So it's, or I have a different way, or loaf, slice of bread. So different way of explaining it.
Mm-hmm. And you're using gesture a lot more.
Yeah.
In terms of trying to get your message across.
Yes.
Okay. And how do you feel when people talk too quickly and you want to be part of the conversation, but by the time you've got your thoughts together, they've moved on to another topic? So how's that for you?
I said, I want to get the point across. Shut up and let me talk, please. And they know me, so it's all right.
Okay, so that's in a situation where people know you're able to say that quite clearly.
Yes.
And you practice that, but it comes out very clearly.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm really pleased about that. Now, do you have any advice to people who don't have aphasia? So what can they do to make it easier for you to be part of a conversation?
Speak slowly, but not no. Speak with a full voice. Don't open your mouth when you talk. So and the writing big so I can read it. And when I look after 2 brain injury clients, and when we go somewhere, they talk to me, not the person. No, speak to the client, not the carer. So it's important you speak to the client, and it's my speech is getting much better. So I think moving to a country area, my situation is being helpful.
And even after all this time, you're finding that your speech is still improving?
Oh, yes. You don't plateau.
Right. Okay. So what would you wish people to know about aphasia that many people aren't aware of?
It's hard to say, because I'm glad Bruce Willis has aphasia. That's one star that openly they talk about it. But every aphasia survivor has a different story. And I'm sure will we meet 3 people as well as me, different stories. But be open, be patient, and don't rush. And then everybody will have a good time.
Okay. And your advice to people who may also have aphasia, who may be online today, and you've covered a couple of these, but what strategies do you use when going into an unfamiliar or new environment, when interacting with people who don't necessarily have aphasia and don't understand aphasia? Sorry.
it's hard to live each day for the fullest. Don't, because I say things and Mum said, you didn't say that. I did say that, but the words don't come out. But be patient, and
so being patient works for both people who have aphasia, so they need to be patient with themselves and with other people?
Yes. Yeah, it's because every aphasia survivor, different story. So or some people write notes and then they have a carer who reads out the notes. So,
And you said before you use gesture a lot?
Yes. I'm talking with my hands. When we go into shop, I'm pointing, can I have that? And yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So your goals and milestones. Okay. So what are your particular goals for your future in relation to your aphasia?
I'm concentrating on my stroke survivor. Aphasia doesn't go in my vocabulary, but I'm aware of it because it's a symptom on my stroke. But before, live each day to the fullest. Smell the roses. Just be positive. It's very hard, but you only have one life to live. Go out, live it.
Okay. And what is something that you are proudest of, or a milestone that you've achieved, even in spite of your aphasia or with your aphasia?
In 2018, I finished the disability individual support, and I got Student of the Year.
Oh, well done.
So thank you. So I missed one class, and the teacher said, you working hard despite your condition.
Okay,
so that's, yeah.
Excellent. Well, you've done very well. And can I just ask, is there anything that you would like to say that we haven't covered in the questions that I've asked?
No, just be patient. It's not or don't speak for the person. Give them time to get the answer out. And my mum said, do you want to answer for me? No, just hang on, wait a minute, and I get the answer out.
Before we move on to the next topic, I'd just like to say thank you to you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going on to our second speaker, and that will be Alan from Tamworth, Alan Sumner. And Alan's been living with aphasia for some years now, and Alan is quite able to speak for himself and get his message out, but if he does have some struggles, because he does get nervous, his lovely partner Judy will kick in and help him out. Okay, so again, Alan, if you wouldn't mind going through a little bit about yourself, your name, your age, where you're from, how long ago since your stroke, and what type of stroke you had, love. Okay.
Name?
My name is Alan Sumner.
You're 67.
67. Tamworth.
First stroke?
First stroke.
18 and a half years ago.
18 half years.
Second stroke?
Second stroke.
6 years.
6 years.
They were both ischemic strokes. The first stroke was a large stroke, and the second stroke was a smaller stroke in the area of the first stroke. So no more of the brain was damaged after the second stroke.
And for those of you online, Alan has written down his answers, which is why Judy is prompting him to go through, isn't it, Alan? Yeah, okay. So would you like to explain to people how aphasia has affected your life and what you would like them to know about your aphasia and how much it has impacted on your life? Like
Lost friends.
Lost friends are them.
People treat me different.
People treat
Me different.
different.
Before stroke.
Angry.
Frustrated.
Frustrated.
I don't like being ignored by people.
Yeah, don't like it. Ignored.
People talk to Judy and Brenda.
Judy answer. Oh.
so it's frustrated to not be part of. You feel as though you're an adjunct to Judy.
Yeah.
Rather than actually being spoken to and treated like an individual person.
Yes. Yeah.
Some people are rude.
Rude, the bloody oh, sorry.
Yes, swearing's become a much bigger part of your life, hasn't it, Alan? I love that. Okay. So you worked prior to your stroke, but you had your stroke when you were quite young. So it impacted your life to the point where you needed to give up work?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Then flour mill manager. Give him up. Yeah.
And so now you're involved in a lot more things like Men's Shed and the choir and a speech group within the Tamworth area.
Yeah.
And speech pathologists have played a really major role in your recovery.
Yes, yeah.
Yep, excellent. So how does it make you feel when you're in an unexpected situation and you can't find the right words?
Oh, angry than myself.
Give me time.
Give me time.
Yeah.
Stop guessing what I want to say.
Yeah.
Stop.
Okay. Okay. And people talk too quickly for you?
Yes. Yeah.
So how does it feel when people answer for you?
Horrible.
I'm still smart.
Shush.
I'm still smart. I'm still thinking.
Thinking. me thinking of them.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So, so some advice to people who don't have aphasia. So how can health professionals, carers and people within the community communicate with you better?
Well,
Here's my communication boards.
the community, my the
Communication.
boards,
Communication boards.
Okay. So a communication board, which a speech pathologist has basically provided for you, worked really well for you, Alan.
Yeah.
And so when you go into hospital for anything, a communication board is essential.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What do you wish people knew about aphasia that many people are not aware of?
Oh,
I need time to get words out.
I need a time, words them out.
Yep.
I'm not
You
silly.
need people to give you time.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
not silly. I'm intelligent.
Yeah. They're silly now. They're intelligent. Yeah.
You're still intelligent.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okey doke. So some advice from you to people who may have aphasia with us today. So what has worked for you best when working to improve your speech?
Keep trying. Don't give up.
Keep trying. Keep trying.
Keep speech
yes. Keep speech appointments.
Do your homework.
Yeah.
Do your homework.
Do the homework.
Get out and socialise. Get
out and socialise. Shush. And then get out. Then socialise. Yeah.
More talking, the better.
I'm going to lead you a little bit on this, Alan. So how have you found being part of a choir? Has that worked for you?
Yes.
In your speech?
Speech, yeah. Yeah.
And you've enjoyed the opportunity to be part of a choir?
Yeah.
Excellent. And the online aphasia groups, the Maitland aphasia group online and the speech talking with Amy has worked really well for you as well.
Yes.
Because they have that social aspect for you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So do you have any top tips for people who have aphasia that they might want to consider when starting their recovery or continuing their recovery?
Get out and be a social butterfly.
Yeah. Get out, then out the town, and it's the men's shed and men group and fishing club,
online groups.
Yeah, choir, my choir, town choir, church choir.
Church choir. So you haven't let your aphasia interrupt your social life, have you?
No.
You're out and about.
No,
Oh.
he was a social butterfly and he still is.
As you should be, Alan, as you should. Okay, so what are your goals for the future, Alan?
Speak.
Continue to improve.
Oh.
Teach people about aphasia.
Yeah. My speech, awful. Speak round the town, aphasia, no worries.
So people in Tamworth are quite well aware of you and your aphasia and do accommodate that when
Yes.
And
again,
if people don't, he wants to make sure people know about aphasia.
okey-doke, excellent. And what is something that you are proudest of or a milestone that you have achieved with your aphasia?
My children's 3 children weddings. Yeah.
So you were able to go to all.
Aphasia, no worries.
Excellent. And you can still catch a fish or two, Alan?
Yes, yeah.
And you go fishing quite regularly?
Yes.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay, well, thank you very much, Alan. I'm now going to go on to Ming Wang. Ming, would you mind introducing yourself and saying a bit about yourself and your stroke, how long it was since your stroke, and what type of stroke you had?
Right. Shih-chang Wang, or Ming, 65, and Sydney, 10 years stroke survivor, and a big stroke, talking, can't talk, write, or so, well, but slowly talking 1 word or 2 words, but slowly talking again and singing, practicing singing, and transfer talking, something like that.
And you're part of our KeyStrokes choir, are you not, Ming?
Yes, yes. Crowsnest.
Crowsnest, absolutely. Excellent. And what would you like people to know about your lived experience of aphasia?
Well, doctor, but no more, and professor radiology, and professor, but no more. I can't talk or write, and spelling. I can't spell. I can't spell the words, but writing down, yes, but it's covered. I can't spell the word. It's something like that. But and colleagues, no way. And well, social events, yes, but well, and a lot of friends, yes, community, Piedmont, listening and slowly talking, and choir, regular choir.
Regular choir. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Midge shed,
So you're a social butterfly too now, since you're...
Yes, and a lot of
Out of what? Photography.
photography, a lot of pictures.
Okay, excellent. Okay.
And
Stop. It's okay. Michelle asked another question.
Sorry.
I'll ask the questions, love. Okay, you ready to go on to the next one? Okay. So how does it make you feel when you're in a group and people and you don't, with a group of people, and you don't get to put your point of view forward? Does that happen to you, and how does that make you feel?
Well, yes, I suppose, yeah, but helping the, yes, I suppose so, yeah.
Can I tell you what Ming does in those situations?
You certainly can. Yep.
Yeah. So everyone will be talking and Ming will want to say something, but he may not indicate that. He then goes on his phone, somehow finds the word, the topic, and then pokes his phone into the middle of the conversation. We might have just moved on a little bit, but he certainly lets people know that he's listening.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So we get this phone and then we all have to stop and everybody stops. Where it never have people ignored Ming.
What you wanted to say.
Yeah, which has been nice.
And does that happen in just family situations, or does that also happen when you're out in group situations as well?
Yes, no problems. Yeah,
no.
He may not have the word, but he uses his phone a lot to help communicate.
It's amazing phone.
So he can't write because he can't spell, but if he gets the first word and then he goes through Google things and the appropriate word will pop up. That's why the conversations have moved on, but we'll go back to it.
And technology was something that you worked with in your profession as a radiologist. So it's not something that you're newly learning, Ming. It's something that you can use quite well to communicate with. Yeah.
He uses it a lot. A lot.
For
everything.
A lot.
Yeah, which is great. Okay. Well, I think you've answered the next part of that question too. When people talk over each other and don't listen to you, I think you've found a nice technique to deal with that. Ming, that's excellent. So, some advice to people who don't have aphasia. What can people do to make it easier for you to be part of a conversation?
Strategy.
What I notice is if Ming is physically involved in the conversation, as we all look to each other and listen, then people include him more.
Yes, I suppose.
Yeah, I think to be physically looking and listening. That's.
So there's more than one way to communicate, to basically communicate or to be part of a conversation.
Without. I mean, looking interested in what's going on, then people will actually ask him what he thinks.
Right. So they don't actually ignore that you're part of the conversation at all.
No.
Not really, no, unless he falls asleep. Yeah.
What about when you go out to shops on your own, Ming? Do you find that that's an easy thing to you to do? Because I know you go out and about on your own quite a lot without Jenny.
Yes.
So how is that for you, and how do you get your message across then?
Well, pointing, I suppose. Pointing.
Gesture? Mm-hmm.
Gesturing and loaf of bread or sandwiches, hand and, well, something like that. Yeah.
Ming hasn't lost any confidence in having the stroke, and I think that's important. So it doesn't worry him particularly what people think.
No.
If he really wants a special sort of coffee, he'll work really hard
until he gets what he wants.
Yeah, I mean, he was confident anyway, but he hasn't lost that confidence. And it's,
sometimes,
yeah, because we all lose it every now and again. Yeah.
The other thing I think is people, you lose confidence because you can think people think you're silly, but most of the time people are very, very helpful. Most of the time, most people want to help you. The ones who don't will ignore them. But I've watched him do this, and people will generally try pretty hard to help him.
Indeed. And is there anything in particular, Ming, that you would like people to know about aphasia that you think they're not aware of?
Well,
You say
left and right.
gets
Left and right. I can't.
He gets words mixed up.
Different words, left and right, or no, or yes, or
So if I ask
down
him something,
and up, it's something like that.
The other night I asked if he wanted a cup of tea. He said yes, which actually meant yes, he already had a cup of coffee. So I went a cup of tea and gave it to him, to which he says, no, I didn't want it. So then we have a discussion on the yes. I mean, he said yes, but he can't remember one that he said yes when he meant no, where he's
no.
Well,
you get yes and no confused when you're talking.
Yeah, but he doesn't realise it, and that causes a few problems. Like we're driving and he says, turn left, but moves his right hand.
Oh, I do that. So, yes. Yep, and that's part of the aphasia as well.
But if the hand is true, the word is wrong. So now that I know that.
And you've got to work out which is right. So living with somebody and learning those little anomalies happens over time.
Yes.
And that's an issue if I'm not around. If Ming answers yes, it means no. Yeah. So that's or when I am around, I go with, most of us go with the spoken word.
Yes.
To be aware that, and that what Ming is saying, and I heard some of the other people say that, is it's not actually what you meant to say.
Yeah. Okay. So what strategies do you use when you're in an unfamiliar environment, Ming?
Slow down and repeat, I suppose, and
you ask people to say it again.
Yes, repeat several times.
And what are your top tips for other people who may be starting out on the aphasia journey and may have communication difficulties? So what strategies have worked for you that you would hope that other people would be aware of as they start on the aphasia journey?
Well, it's, singing, I suppose. Repeat a lot of times and transfer talking, something like that. It's interesting transfer.
Okay. And what are your goals for the future?
He just answered being alive.
And watch tennis. Let's not forget that, Ming.
Yeah. And cycling.
Yeah, exactly. And the other question that I've asked everybody is, what is something that you are proudest of as a milestone that you've achieved with your aphasia?
Well, inviting the board of stroke survivor.
Stroke Recovery Association.
Stroke survivor. No. Sorry.
So you're a member of our board, yes.
And
so
it's
what to do?
George Institute listing the board, inviting the board, and
being on the board, being on the consumer voice for the George Institute to recommend and discuss their research projects in relation to stroke.
See, interesting talking aloud, no, but listening, no problems listening, and speech, sorry.
What word? Hang on, we are now looking for a word on the phone.
Voice.
Voice Dream.
Yeah.
He's got an app on his phone called Voice Dream.
And
I don't know what that is.
no, so okay.
We'll send it to you, Michelle.
Okay. So you find that apps are quite useful in your, I guess, communication process and reading out what you receive by email. Is that the sort of app you're talking about?
I don't. It's okay. So he's got Voice Stream on his phone. Or when he gets the papers from the SRA, he has a thing on his computer to read the words out, read it out.
So change text.
Yeah.
He can read, but not not too much. But he can listen better than he can read.
Yeah, so something like that. Talking.
Mandate, curate, or really to quantify it. By Catherine J. A person wearing a mask. Leo Correa Redux, March 12, 2022. Share.
He listens to that voice.
So you listen to the news and all of those sort of things on apps as well to keep you informed as well, which is great. So is there anything else that you'd like to add about your lived experience of aphasia that we haven't covered?
Well, traveling, Singapore or France or Italy travel again.
So you've not let aphasia hold you back in your travels.
But unfortunately, cycling, no, ban cycling.
No cycling, okay. No cycling, but travelling's okay.
It's the injury and no ban.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Excellent. Thank you, Ming and Jenny. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask Ming or Jenny in regards to their lived experience of stroke?
Can I just add one more thing?
Sure.
I think what has really, really helped me with speech is being involved in things that aren't related to stroke. So he has coffee with the girls on a Monday at 11 o'clock. He's in a men's shed and he's in a regular choir, a no audition choir. And I think those things really, really help him because people don't necessarily slow down.
No.
But if he does want to say something, they will. And it's kind of a bit more. I mean, I think you need both, but it's a more relaxed way to socialise and gain other speech.
Okay. And I think it's also really a good part of reintegration into the community because it not only enables you to get out there and talk, but it also spreads the word about aphasia and that it has some limitations, but it doesn't limit you. Would that be a fair enough statement?
Well,
Absolutely.
yes.
Close. Thanks very much, Ming. That was great. And thank you, Jenny, for helping out there as well. So I'm now going to move over to Brenda Booth. So welcome. So I'm going to ask you, if you wouldn't mind, to introduce yourself and a little bit about your stroke as well, please, Brenda.
Okay. Now, look, I have work today, so brain and words may not always marry up, and that's why I have got notes. So yeah, I'm Brenda. I'm 62. I live on the Central Coast. And it's 21 years. Can you hear me okay, by the way? Yep, okay. It's 21 years since my stroke. I was 41 when I had my stroke in 2001. Do you want me to follow the questions, Michelle, or are you going to?
What type of stroke did you have?
Yeah.
Okay.
I dissected, I tore my internal carotid artery, and I had a left middle cerebral artery stroke. My stroke was right near the speech broker area, and so initially I could only say yes or no, and then after I had the stroke, I like to do things in reverse. I started having TIAs, and every time I had a TIA, whilst my speech had come back, every time I had a TIA, my speech got worse and worse. You know, I had my family finishing my sentences for me and helping me out with talking because I was not very good in the beginning. So the cause of my stroke was fibromuscular dysplasia, and that has caused an ongoing problem with the blood supply to my brain, and so I have variable neurological issues because of that, and so when people look at me and I can talk and they assume everything's fine, but because I have variable neurological stuff going on, my speech deteriorates then. So it's like what you see is not always what you get. So my speech can, as much as my blood flow to my brain is variable, my speech can be very variable as well.
And can I just ask you a little bit about how aphasia has had an effect on your life in terms of your working life and your social life as well?
Yeah. Look, after I started to be, more able to look like I was talking fine, because you look okay, people assume you are okay. And whilst most of the time now I can converse, what people don't get and understand is I have a huge amount of word finding problems, and I'm really good at covering them. So people aren't often aware that I'm struggling with a word, so word finding is probably my biggest constant problem that I have, and that's made worse by fatigue. I've just worked, finished work, and so my brain's not as connected with word finding as it would be otherwise.
So you find that your aphasia becomes more pronounced when you're fatigued?
Absolutely, yeah, it's incredibly frustrating when your words or my, you know, when I'm trying to talk and it's not fluent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't necessarily flow. But there are times, because a lot of you know me, I can talk. It's variable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But you have been able to continue working, Brenda, past your stroke?
Yeah, it's not been without an interesting journey. You know, I can't do what I used to do, and I had to readjust my expectations of what I could do, and so I've never worked full time since my stroke. I've only ever worked part time, and I've worked for the last 30 odd years in government disability sector. But the last job I've been doing for the last 6 years, I had to make some really radical decisions about what I was able to do. If I wanted to continue working, I had to make some really radical decisions. And so I work 3 6-hour days, and I'm now doing something that is much more manageable, but I had to drop 2 grades to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. So how does it make you feel when you're in a conversation and you have something to add, and by the time you gather your thoughts, the topic has moved on? Does that happen to you? And if so, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, look, most of the time for me, I mean, as you know, Michelle, I do a lot of stroke consumer advocacy and health, you know, in health and research. And I've become really quite good at, if I've been thinking about something and I haven't been able to get to say what I want, I've become more confident in taking people back to the topic they were talking about or the conversation, because that's why I'm there as a consumer advocate, to provide input. So in that situation, I'm you know, really quite reasonably good at you know, getting my point across. But in a social conversation or at work, that's much harder, you know, because, you know, the conversation's moved on, and I just kind of, I suppose I just feel like I've missed the boat. And, you know, it's, yeah, pick your battles, I suppose. So,
yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
And what about if people talk too quickly for you, and or more than one person is speaking at a time? How does that impact your ability to be part of a conversation?
Look, I find that really difficult. I find it difficult if people are talking too quickly, or there's people talking. I can't keep up. I can't focus. You know, it's really frustrating, because if it's a conversation you want to be involved in, but you've got you know, all that stuff going on around you. I think again, it's it depends. I suppose I choose what's important to me, and so there will be times when that's happening, and you kind of go, "Oh, look, let it go. It's not that important." But if it is important to me, I'll take the effort to try and engage, and you know, so yeah, yeah.
Okay, and now some advice to people who may not have aphasia. So how can health professionals carers and people in the community communicate with you better, or provide an environment for better communication?
By not assuming that because my words, appear to be flowing, that I'm not struggling, and or that or not. Don't assume that I'm keeping up with the conversation. If I look like I'm having difficulty understanding or keeping up, check in with me. Slow down. I have actually been in stroke meetings when a really good facilitator will actually go, because there's times when it's really clear that I'm not quite keeping up, or I'm obviously looking a bit confused, and that the person who's chairing has actually taken the time to say, Brenda, would you like me to go back? Is there, not that they were doing it in a helpful way, not in a patronising way, but checking in with me is helpful.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what about if people speak too quickly? How would you what sort of advice would you have for health professionals about how quickly they speak and those sort of things?
Yeah, I think it's a real danger when not only just health professionals, but if they don't slow down, like one of the things that with my stroke and the aphasia, if someone's telling me numbers, I can't, and you're saying them quickly, I can't get numbers like I used to. And I know that, it's not words, but it's numbers. But it's like I can't tell you how many times I've had a professional leave a message on my voicemail that I have had to listen to, I don't know how many times, because they've said the numbers so fast. I can't remember the numbers, and I just literally have to listen to that message repeatedly so I eventually get the phone number. And if only people would slow down when they're talking or leaving a voicemail message, it's like it's really difficult. Is that kind of what you're after,
Yep,
Michelle?
That's exactly what I'm on about, love. Thank you. So advice to people who may have aphasia who are with us this afternoon. So what has worked best for you when working to improve your speech over the last 20-odd years?
Oh, advice to aphasia, okay. I've written questions down, so maybe advice to people who have aphasia, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. Look, when I was having speech therapy, which I've had speech therapy later down the track, but initially, because I was struggling so hard to find the word I was looking for, probably the most helpful piece of advice I was ever given was, look, don't struggle, just pick a word that's close, because most of the time it will do. And that was kind of when I stopped struggling to find the particular word I was looking for. And you know what? Most of the time, picking something close does do. I mean, there are times clearly when that word I've picked is not close enough because people look at me oddly. But I now look at it with, it's not my problem. I'm doing the best I can, and if if they don't want to work with me or give me the time, then it's not my problem. It's their problem.
Okay, excellent. And what are your top tips for people who have aphasia and have communication difficulties about how to get out in the world again?
Look, I reckon my biggest tip would be take your time, because most of the time people can wait. And again, it goes back to, if they can't wait, it's not your problem. And also taking your time is important, because when you feel rushed, then everything gets harder. And so trying to communicate becomes harder. I know for me, when I'm feeling rushed or distressed or upset, I can actually almost become incoherent. And so it's a case of, and in those instances, I just have to stop and slow down and give myself time. Again, going back to, for me, because my biggest issue is that word finding struggle, picking something close is often the best fit for me. I can get by with that. Sometimes I get it badly wrong, but yeah, most of the time, you pick a word and it will do. Yeah, it might not be the one you were looking for, but yeah. So
okay. So what are your goals for the future?
Okay. Look, I do a lot of talking. I do presentations. For me to, I have to, because of word finding, if I didn't have words in front of me now, my brain would have just gone completely blank. So for me to do anything like this, I've got to prepare. I've got to sit down and write things down, because I can talk, but I would hate to be doing something like this and go completely blank. And so my goal would be not to have that absolutely mind-numbing fear of going completely blank and struggling and looking for words in a situation like this.
Thank you. Excellent. So, and what is something that you are proudest of, or a milestone that you have achieved with your aphasia?
Look, I reckon I've been doing stroke advocacy for about 20 years now. And despite my word finding issues and my variable speech issues, I feel like I've been able to contribute a lot and offer a lot in the stroke arena. So I'm really blessed to have done so many different things, and fortunate to be involved with a lot of stuff, in New South Wales and around Australia, and people are happy to bear with me when I'm having not a good day.
All right. Is there anything else that you'd like to add about your lived experience that you think we haven't covered, Brenda?
Look, one of the things I wanted to say was, actually, one thing I did want to say, was, look, the one that the question about what do people not know, many people aware of with aphasia, and one of the things I'd written down was, it's really important that people are aware of there are different sorts of aphasia, and the type of aphasia means that the way the communication issues that they've got going on are different because of the type of aphasia they have. And so the old saying of no two strokes are the same goes the same for aphasia. You know, our communication difficulties are also not the same. And I think sometimes you just have the one word aphasia and people all get lumped into one bucket. And it's not the same bucket. We're all different and we've got different stuff going on. And so it's about recognising what those differences are is important, I reckon. And the other thing that is, please don't assume because a person looks okay that they aren't having issues with communication.
I just want to see if I can summarise what we've been through this afternoon, and to thank you all for participating. So I guess some of the key words that I've heard this afternoon is that everybody's experience of aphasia is quite individual, and people need to be cognizant of the fact that everybody has different type of aphasia, and it often isn't always what's in the textbooks as such, and that situations can be affected and can affect your ability to communicate at that time. Okay, and I guess some of the things that I've heard in terms of your solutions for what to do and to make sure you're heard is to basically choose your battles, to decide which are the important things that you need to be heard on. Basically, to take every opportunity that you can to participate and to be part of a conversation, and to persevere in order to be heard, to continue to persevere in terms of to be heard. And I guess some of the solutions that you've highlighted this afternoon about how to continue to improve your speech is to take every opportunity to socialise, to make sure that you are part of a community and get out there and have a chat. Practice is important, and certainly any speech pathology that is offered to you, you grab with both hands and run with, because they are very important in that whole process of relearning. You use gestures a lot, and I think gestures is really important. And also pictures. I think, Alan, you raised the whole issue of the communication board, particularly when someone with aphasia is in the hospitals, and that's an important process that needs to be followed up. And I guess the other thing too is that confidence is really important, and sometimes it's a matter of fake it till you make it, and the other thing is just assuming a position of confidence when you may not have it, and I think that's important. And I think some of your challenges were ongoing frustrations about people not hearing you or speaking for you, and that often fatigue plays a really important part in whether or not your speech is as eloquent as all of us would like. And that word finding is a really, that's been a common theme, that word finding has been a really difficult thing for most people who suffer from some sort of issue with aphasia. And I guess the other thing that we need to be aware of is that there are all sorts of different ways of socialising. So being part of a stroke group is one, but I think, as Ming pointed out, that getting out into the general community and spreading the word about aphasia out there is really important as well. But also being part of mainstream things like a choir and men's shed and all of those sort of things that are offered to you in your general community is important. And I guess one of the positive things that we've learned is people do have a very positive life post-stroke, that they are able to participate in their communities very well, and that, you know, you have a lot to offer in terms of research. I think Ming and Brenda have both talked about their role in advocacy and being part of the general community and making, I guess, making things better for stroke survivors who may come in the future. But I guess also that whole thing that aphasia is very much a part of stroke, and that various forms of aphasia are very important that we within the Stroke Association take into account in our stroke recovery clubs as well. I'd like to thank the speakers that we've had this afternoon, Kimone, who's not with us, but I'd particularly like to thank her for coming in and giving her time. For Alan and Judy in Tamworth, it's been lovely to hear from you. It's been a real joy, as usual, to have you online. To Ming and Jenny, as usual, a joy. And to Brenda, you know, you're legendary within the association and without. So it's always great to hear your experience and your, I guess, continued advocacy for stroke and aphasia is so essential for us. It's really good. So I'd like to thank you all for participating this afternoon and coming online, and wish you well in the next couple of weeks. And that brings to a conclusion, I guess, Aphasia Awareness Month for the association, but it doesn't necessarily bring to an end our advocacy for aphasia as we move forward into the rest of 2022 and onward. Aphasia has a really high priority within the association, and our board has definitely prioritised that going forward, because, you know, the figures are quite high within the stroke community of people who have significant issues with aphasia. So thank you again, and say good afternoon to you all. Thank you very much.